Happy Friday. This is Father Mark Toops over at Christ the Redeemer Catholic Church in Thibodaux, Louisiana. All week long, we've been talking about freedom, how we can choose to live in freedom. Yesterday, we invited you to the Sacrament of Reconciliation, and I shared with you yesterday that I would unpack with you today another thing that you can do to live in freedom. Are you ready? Actually, it's just going to confession, because I know that some of us, as we're listening yesterday, you kind of struggled with that message. Maybe you struggled with that message because the Sacrament of Reconciliation is not in your history, or maybe you struggled with that message because it's not a place in your heart where there's a lot of trust. And so I want to speak to you again today because I love you. And because yesterday when I talked about going to confession, I was really serious about that. I've been a priest for 17 years, and I want to admit to you today that for the last 17 years, going to confession has been very embarrassing in my life. Because all the guys that I go to confession to are also priests, and they know me, and they know my voice. I even kind of do what you do. We all do the same thing. We go to confession, right? I sit behind the screen, kind of hoping that he won't, remember my voice. And for most of us, that's going to work. But all the priests, they know my voice, right? So they recognize that, and I do the same thing that you do, right? How many times have you gone to confession and you have a really big sin that you're really embarrassed about, so you kind of bury it in between two little sins, so you go to confession and you say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. I think I told half a lie, and I stole $1,000, and then I ran through a red light," right? Something like that. You're just kind of laughing with this today. Like a lot of times we sandwich the big sin in between two little sins, kind of hoping that we'll throw the priest off, right? And I'm kind of laughing with you today because I think we all kind of do that, right? Why? Because going to confession is not hard. It's not easy. And I didn't make it up. Like, Jesus Christ is the one who established it. And there's wisdom in why he established it the way he did, right? There's something about the vulnerability that increases the receptivity. Let me say that again. There's something about the vulnerability that increases the receptivity. So I'm going to make a bet with you that if you don't go to confession, that it really has nothing to do with it not being in the Bible, because it is. And it has nothing to do with you believing that Jesus Christ didn't set it up, because he did. And those two things can be proven. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, and I love you enough to be honest with you, the reason we don't go to confession is because we just don't like being vulnerable. Now, that being said, I know that of late, especially since the summer of 2018, the priesthood itself has gone through some very challenging times. And maybe you've been watching some of the things in the news, and it has eroded some trust that you have in the priesthood. So first of all, let me just say I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of the priesthood for all of the egregious sins that have been reported in anything that has ever been done to you by me personally or by any priest that may have compromised or eroded your trust in the sacred dignity of the priesthood. I apologize for that. But God is the one who gave us the priesthood, and God's the one who is speaking to you. So whether you don't want to go to confession because you don't like being vulnerable, or whether you don't want to go to confession because you're struggling with the priesthood right now, I'm still going to invite you to go. Because I went last week, and it changed my life. And I love you way too much to leave you hanging in something as sensitive and personal as unfreedom. You can go whenever you're ready, but I just want you to go. You can go to whomever you're ready. I just want you to go. If you want to live in freedom, let's bring all of our hearts, our regret, our resentments, our resistance, our unforgiveness, let's bring all that to the Lord so that he can give us the freedom that we long for. God bless you.